Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect while others, maybe even you, shrink into the background, silently hoping not to be noticed? Picture this. You are in a meeting, your ideas are good, maybe even better than the ones being praised, but your voice trembles, your words feel weak, and you watch someone else take the spotlight you could have claimed. That sinking feeling of I am not enough is more universal than we admit. Insecurity is not just about lacking confidence, it is about being trapped in a private prison of self-doubt. It creeps into our gestures, our tone of voice, even the way we sit at the table. And yet, here is the paradox. The very people you admire, the ones who appear fearless, have felt the same unease. The difference is not that they were born without insecurity, it is that they learned how to weaponize it. This is where the wisdom of Niccolò Machiavelli becomes strangely relevant. Machiavelli, often misunderstood as cold and manipulative, knew a truth most of us avoid. Insecurity, when faced directly, can be transformed into a dangerous kind of confidence, the kind that makes others stop and pay attention. Imagine what it would feel like if the nervousness you carry could become an aura of authority instead of weakness. But here is the catch. This transformation does not happen through fake affirmations or pretending to be someone you are not. It requires confronting the uncomfortable reality of your own fears and then using them as raw material to build strength. That trembling hand, that hesitation in your voice, they can become signals of authenticity when you know how to stand firmly inside them instead of running away. So let me ask you directly, how much of your life has been shaped by insecurity? By the things you wanted to say but silenced? By the doors you wanted to knock on but never dared? And more importantly, what would your life look like if you could transform that same insecurity into a kind of presence that unsettles others? Not because you are loud or aggressive, but because you radiate an unshakable confidence born from having faced yourself? If this question stirs something in you, stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, you may never see your own insecurity the same way again. And before we dive deeper, I want you to pause and comment below. Have you ever lost an opportunity because of insecurity? Share it. Your story might be the mirror someone else desperately needs. What if your insecurity was not a curse, but a hidden resource? Think about this for a moment. Imagine walking into that same meeting where you once froze. But this time, instead of being overwhelmed by doubt, you feel a quiet sharpness inside you. Your pulse still beats fast, but now you interpret it differently, not as fear, but as fuel. Your words carry weight, your silence commands attention, and when you finally speak, people lean in, curious. Nothing about you has fundamentally changed. You are still the same person, but the way you carry your insecurity has transformed it into something almost magnetic. This is not a fantasy. It is a possibility. Insecurity, when left unchecked, bends you inward, making you smaller. But when harnessed, it expands your presence outward. Imagine how your relationships would shift if you no longer avoided difficult conversations, but instead entered them with a grounded calmness. Picture how your career might unfold if the voice of doubt inside you became the very signal that pushed you to prepare more, refine more, and ultimately impress more deeply. We often think confidence means the absence of insecurity. But what if the truth is the opposite? That confidence is born in the presence of insecurity, forged in the very moments when you feel most unsteady. This is what Machiavelli might suggest. That strength is not the denial of weakness, but the mastery of it. Now take a moment and project this into your own life. If tomorrow you walked into a room radiating this dangerous confidence, how would others respond to you? Would they still overlook you? Or would their eyes instinctively turn your way? Would they interrupt you? Or would they wait, sensing there is something in your voice that cannot be ignored? Close your eyes and hold that vision for just a few seconds. The version of you who does not erase insecurity but redefines it. That person already exists within you. The only difference between now and then is learning how to cross the thin line between shrinking and expanding, between silence and presence. So let me ask you, if you could live one day with this transformed confidence, where would you take it first? Into your work, your relationships, or maybe into the mirror? where you could finally face yourself without flinching. Most of us have been taught to see confidence as a kind of mask. Smile wider, stand taller, speak louder, pretend until it becomes real. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The mask eventually cracks. People sense the performance, and worse, you feel the hollowness inside. The belief that confidence means never feeling insecure is one of the greatest illusions holding you back. What Machiavelli teaches us, if we listen carefully, is that human nature is not built on perfection, but on flaws strategically managed. He did not admire the flawless leader. He admired the one who knew how to use imperfection as a weapon. In his view, the leader who appears completely secure is suspicious, maybe even naive. Why? Because true power does not come from eliminating weakness. It comes from owning it so completely that no one else can use it against you. Think about it. The colleague who always acts overly confident, do you really trust them? Or do you feel there is something fragile behind their performance? Now contrast that with someone who admits their nervousness yet still speaks with clarity. Their honesty disarms you. Their courage, precisely in the middle of insecurity, makes their presence undeniable. That is not weakness. It is power disguised as vulnerability. The rupture we need then is this. Confidence is not the opposite of insecurity. It is the integration of insecurity. It is standing in front of others and saying, yes, my hands are shaking, but I am still here and you will still hear me. That moment carries more authority than 1,000 forced smiles. This shift is liberating. You no longer need to chase the impossible image of the flawless self. Instead, you learn to shape your flaws into a dangerous kind of strength, the kind that unsettles people because it is real. And in a world saturated with appearances, nothing is more powerful than reality exposed without apology. So here is the question. Are you willing to stop chasing the illusion of being perfectly confident and instead embrace the paradox that your insecurity when faced might be the very source of your deepest authority? If you can take that step, you will already be ahead of most people who are still hiding behind masks that fool no one. When we hear the name Machiavelli, many think of manipulation, cold strategy, even cruelty. But that is only the surface. If we dig deeper, we find a man who understood the raw mechanics of human behavior, stripped of illusions. His book, The Prince, is often misread as a manual for deceit, but what it really offers is a brutally honest exploration of power, how it is gained, how it is lost, and how fragile it truly is. Machiavelli argued that appearances often matter more than intentions. A leader did not need to be fearless only to appear so at the right moment. What does this mean for us? That insecurity is not your downfall unless you let it paralyze your actions. In fact, your insecurity can be a hidden ally if you know how to cloak it in the right posture. Not by faking, but by learning how to transform it into presence. Think of Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon. History tells us it was not a move free of fear. He risked everything, his life, his army, the republic itself. But he acted. That decision, born from tension and uncertainty, became the foundation of his authority. Machiavelli would have said, it was not the absence of insecurity that made Caesar powerful, but his willingness to step into it with boldness. And here is the part we often forget. Machiavelli believed that weakness, when hidden, can destroy you. But weakness, when confronted and shaped, can become a force no enemy expects. He taught that power is not about denying fear. It is about directing it. That same principle applies to you. The trembling you feel before speaking, the doubts you carry before making a decision, those are not signals to withdraw. They are reminders that you are standing on the edge of growth. So let us bring this down to the personal level. The next time insecurity rises inside you, ask yourself, what would Machiavelli advise? Likely he would not say, wait until you feel safe. He would say, step forward anyway, and let your action redefine how others see you. Because once you act, the narrative shifts. You are no longer the insecure one. You are the one who moved while others froze. Here is the invitation. Start seeing your insecurity not as evidence of weakness, but as proof that you are on the threshold of power. That shift alone can change the way you carry yourself in every room you enter. Insecurity often feels personal, like a secret flaw no one else carries. But if you look closely, you will see it operates by patterns, almost like an invisible script written into our daily lives. And unless we recognize those patterns, we are condemned to repeat them. One of the first patterns is silence. How many times have you swallowed your words in fear they might sound foolish? That silence seems harmless, but it trains others to overlook you. Another pattern is hesitation. You pause too long before speaking, too long before deciding, and in that pause, someone else steps forward. Hesitation repeated enough creates a reputation. People begin to see you as uncertain, even when you have clarity. Then there is overcompensation. The loud laugh, the forced enthusiasm, the performance of confidence that never feels natural. It exhausts you, and ironically, it makes others doubt you more. Why? Because people can feel when you are acting out of fear rather than conviction. Machiavelli would remind us, power is perception, and insecurity, left unmanaged, shapes a perception of weakness long before you even open your mouth. But here is the turning point. Those same patterns can be flipped. Silence, when chosen, can become gravitas. Hesitation, when directed, can become thoughtfulness. Even nervous energy, when reframed, can be read as intensity. The raw material does not change. What changes is how you own it. This is the dynamic most of us miss. Insecurity is not just an internal problem. It is a social signal. People around you are always interpreting it, consciously or not. That means every insecure gesture either shrinks your influence or, if mastered, expands it. So ask yourself, what are your recurring patterns when insecurity takes over? Do you go silent? Do you laugh too loud? Do you disappear into the background? The first step toward dangerous confidence is naming those habits with brutal honesty. Because once you see the pattern, you can disrupt it. And maybe that is the hardest truth. Insecurity is not just about what you feel. It is about what you teach others to expect from you. Every time you reinforce the pattern, you reinforce the identity. But when you break the script even once, you plant a new image in their minds and in your own. What would happen if the next time insecurity showed up, you disrupted the pattern instead of obeying it? Confidence is not the absence of trembling. It is the decision to move while trembling. Your insecurity only controls you when you hide it. Once exposed and redirected, it becomes your edge. People trust honesty more than perfection. The moment you stop performing, your presence becomes undeniable. Fear is not a wall, it is a compass pointing to where your growth waits. Every hesitation trains others to overlook you. Every decisive step, even imperfect, rewrites their perception of you. Machiavelli would say, "It is better to appear bold while uncertain than to appear uncertain while waiting for boldness." The mask of confidence is fragile. The practice of confidence is unbreakable. Authority is not gained by pretending to be unshaken. Authority is gained by showing you can remain standing even when you shake. Here is the paradox. The very thing you hide, your insecurity, is the exact place where your power is buried. Remember this. When you walk into a room, people are not looking for your perfection. They are searching for your conviction. So let these truths settle. Some may feel uncomfortable, even harsh, but that is the point. They are meant to cut through the illusions we build around confidence, because only when the illusion is shattered can the real transformation begin. Now, I want to ask you directly, which of these truths strikes you the hardest? Which one feels like it was written for you? Sit with that discomfort. It may be pointing exactly to the place where your next step of growth is waiting. At first glance, insecurity and power seem like opposites. One makes you small, the other makes you expansive. One silences, the other commands. But look closer and you will find they are not enemies. They are dance partners. The paradox is this: without insecurity, confidence loses its edge. Think about the people who always seem effortlessly sure of themselves. Often, their confidence feels flat, even arrogant, because it has never been tested. But the person who knows doubt, who has wrestled with trembling hands and a racing heart, carries a different weight when they finally stand tall. Their confidence feels earned, not inherited. Machiavelli understood this paradox well. He wrote that fortune favors those who act boldly, But he never assumed those actions were free of fear. In fact, he knew fear sharpened judgment. A leader who feels no insecurity risks blindness. But a leader who feels it and still moves forward projects a dangerous kind of authority, the kind that others cannot easily challenge. In your own life, this means that insecurity does not disqualify you from confidence. It qualifies you. It proves you are aware, alive, and tuned to the stakes of the moment. The mistake is thinking you must erase insecurity before stepping forward. The truth is you step forward with it, and that tension is what gives your presence depth. Here lies the paradox. Insecurity is not the opposite of confidence. It is the soil from which real confidence grows. Without it, your strength is shallow. With it, your strength becomes layered, complex, and resilient. So the next time you feel insecurity rise, do not ask, "How can I get rid of this?" Ask instead, "How can I carry this into the room with me and still stand?" That shift changes everything. Because here's the surprising reality. The people who unsettle us most, the ones who seem dangerously confident, are often the ones who have made peace with their insecurity. They no longer hide it, and because they no longer hide it, it cannot be used against them. What about you? Are you still fighting insecurity as if it were your enemy? Or are you ready to treat it as the paradoxical ally that could make you unforgettable? Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to stop running from your insecurity. Not to conquer it, not to erase it, but to stand inside it without apology. The reward of this shift is not just external, it is deeply personal. First, there is freedom. No more exhausting yourself with masks, no more rehearsing how to appear unshaken. When you stop hiding, the energy you once wasted on performance becomes available for presence. People feel that difference instantly. Second, there is clarity. Insecurity often clouds our judgment, filling the mind with imagined criticism. But when you accept insecurity as part of the process, your focus sharpens. You listen more deeply. You respond more thoughtfully. The noise inside you turns into signal. Third, there is influence. Paradoxically, people are more drawn to someone who owns their fragility than to someone who pretends to have none. Why? Because honesty disarms. Vulnerability, carried with steadiness, becomes authority. It is why a shaky voice that still speaks can move us more than a polished speech delivered without soul. And finally, there is growth. Each time you reframe insecurity, you expand your capacity to act under pressure. What once felt unbearable becomes familiar. What once made you retreat becomes the place you advance. Over time, that practice forges resilience. Machiavelli would say the true reward is not looking fearless, but becoming formidable. Because when you have faced your insecurity and carried it into the world anyway, you are no longer fragile. No critic can wound you with what you have already embraced. No situation can paralyze you with what you have already practiced. That is what makes your confidence dangerous. Not its perfection, but its indestructibility. So here is the vision. A version of you who no longer avoids opportunities, who no longer shrinks in the face of judgment, who no longer interprets trembling as weakness. Instead, you stand in rooms, in conversations, in decisions with the quiet knowledge that insecurity is not your enemy. It is your raw material. What would change if you claimed that reward today? Who would notice? And perhaps the deeper question, how would you see yourself differently if you finally stopped pretending to be fearless and started living as someone who has nothing left to hide? To make this more than an inspiring idea, we need a structure, a way of thinking you can carry into your daily life. Let us build it around 3 pillars, each grounded in philosophy, psychology, and lived experience. Pillar 1, awareness without denial. The Stoic philosophers from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius taught that freedom begins with seeing reality as it is. Insecurity is not an accident. It is part of the human condition. Naming it, feeling it, even admitting it openly, strips it of its hidden power. Psychology echoes this. Suppression magnifies fear, while awareness reduces its control. Your first step is not to hide, but to notice. Pillar 2, action before certainty. Machiavelli insisted that fortune belongs to the bold, but boldness does not wait for confidence. It acts in the shadow of doubt. Modern behavioral psychology confirms this. Action generates confidence more reliably than confidence generates action. The order matters. You move first, the feeling follows later. Pillar 3. Reframing presence. Every gesture you make teaches people how to read you. A pause can be seen as hesitation or as thoughtfulness. A trembling hand can be seen as weakness or as intensity. The frame you choose directs the story others believe. Literature reminds us of this timeless truth. Shakespeare's characters who turn flaws into force are the ones we remember. It is not about erasing insecurity, but reinterpreting it in a way that commands attention. Together, these pillars form a framework you can actually use. Notice your insecurity instead of denying it. Step forward before you feel ready. Shape how your presence is read by owning, not hiding, your tension. This is not easy. It demands discipline, honesty, and practice. But it is simple, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Think of it this way: you are not trying to become someone else. You are learning to carry yourself differently. You are rewriting the script people read when they see you. And in time, that script hardens into reputation. A reputation not of perfection, but of presence. So ask yourself, which of these pillars do you most need to strengthen right now? Awareness, action, or reframing? Your answer to that question could be the starting point of your transformation. At the heart of this journey is a shift in identity. You are not a person who lacks confidence. You are a person who carries insecurity like everyone else, but you have learned to transform it into presence. That is what makes you different. That is what makes you dangerous in the best sense of the word. Remember this: the world is not waiting for a flawless version of you. It is waiting for the real you, the one who stands in the middle of trembling and still chooses to speak, to act, to move forward. That choice alone separates leaders from bystanders, creators from critics, the remembered from the forgotten. Machiavelli would have called it a kind of political cunning, but for you, it is more personal. It is the art of self-mastery, the discipline of no longer being ruled by the voice of doubt inside you. When you integrate insecurity instead of running from it, you begin to radiate a confidence that unsettles others because it cannot be faked. It is the kind of confidence that comes only from truth lived out loud. So here is the challenge I leave with you. The next time insecurity rises, pause and name it. Feel it. And then, instead of shrinking, take one small action forward. Send the message, speak the thought, hold the silence with presence. That step, however small, will prove to you that you are no longer at the mercy of fear. Now I want to turn this back to you. Tell me in the comments, what is one situation in your life right now where insecurity keeps you silent? And what would it look like to take a bold step forward in that very place? Share it, not only for yourself, but for the community of people here walking the same path. And if this conversation has opened something in you, if you felt the shift from insecurity to dangerous confidence, then make sure you like this video and subscribe. Because together, we are building a space where human weakness is not hidden, but transformed. Where insecurity is not a prison, but a path. The journey is not about becoming fearless. It is about becoming unshakable. Precisely because you have learned to stand in the storm without pretending the storm is not there.